Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys, or toys in media, as it were. The show The Goldbergs, which is a sitcom on ABC, is wrapping up its 10-season run. In fact, the final episode, I believe, is airing the same night as this episode is premiering. And I am not an outrageous fan of the show. I really enjoyed it in the beginning, but I've sort of phased out of it some. I do admire the 80s nostalgia of it and the references to action figures and movies from that time period. And I recently saw that there's going to be an auction of some of the props from the show, and I kind of wanted to check that out a little bit and show off some of the toy related things. So the Goldbergs has run on ABC from 2013 to 2023. Over that time period, the child actor that plays Adam Goldberg, the main character of the show, or the main child, the mother Beverly may be the main character, depending how you want to look at it. But Adam Goldberg is a fictionalized version of the showrunner Adam F. Goldberg. He grows up in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, with his older brother and sister. It's a fictionalized, again, version of his actual life. He actually had two brothers, but they made Erica, just to kind of add some other elements to the plot that you get by having a sister and some other things like that. The Goldbergs was part of a renaissance of nerd culture on TV. Shows like The Big Bang Theory and The Goldbergs really highlighted nerdy things. I mean, Adam Goldberg films everything in his life and recreates movies. He shows off his action figure collection to his friends and his potential girlfriend and things like that. And that makes the show really fun for nerds like myself. And then it's also kind of popular in this region where I live because it's set in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, which is in Montgomery County, not too far from where I live. They reference some things here and there that people in this area recognize. Obviously, Jenkintown itself, some of the stores and shops in that area, the Willow Grove Mall gets names dropped, and of course, Wawa, which is a series of convenience stores in this area that have been around for a long time. Adam's older brother, Barry, and his buddies from the JTP hang out in the parking lot of Wawa. I actually took Pixel Dan to Wawa one time when he was in the area for Too Many Games, a local video game convention, and he thought that the name Wawa was just sort of made up for the TV show. But no, we actually have a chain here called Wawa. And this takes us to the website for the auction. It's Prop Store Auction. They've got a nice little image there of some of the stuff set up on display. And we're going to try and check out some more of the listings here. As I scroll down, you get to see that they have things like Pop-Pop's Invasion from Cosmic City script copy. They have Simon, so here's an 80s toy. And here's a lot of Adam's stuffed animals. As we keep scrolling, you'll see there are costumes. Dave Kim dressed up as Data in an episode. There's a lot of movie references. So, a lot of these props are just that kind of stuff. But as you get down here to lot number 10, we see Adam Goldberg's G.I. Joe toys. This is the kind of lots I want to talk about. In the Goldbergs, there's an episode called You Are Underfoot, where Adam shows off his bedroom to his potential girlfriend, this girl Dana, who he has a crush on, and he is kind of like taking her on a tour around the room. And the night that episode aired, my buddy Drew from work, who was the best man at my wedding, he calls me and he says, "Kevin, I now understand exactly what a 10-year-old Kevin was like." And he says, "I was watching the Goldbergs." I was like, "I have it on DVR. I haven't watched it yet." I said, I'll check it out. So I watched this episode, and Adam gets Dana up to his room, and he's like, "Here's Castle Grayskull, where Skeletor lives. Here's the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier." And just shows off a bunch of awesome 80s toys. The G.I. Joe forums and stuff were all kind of like a Twitter about the flag being in the episode. Later in the show, the flag would actually get moved to the set of the basement in the show where the Goldberg kids hang out a lot. So the flag actually ended up in the background of a ton of episodes. But one of my favorite things about that first episode, You're Underfoot, it's kind of all about Adam needs to grow up. The older siblings are kind of annoyed with him. So he says that he wants to like get rid of his toys because he's trying to impress Dana. And his mom, Beverly, donates them or gives them away. Typical, 80s mom kind of thing, or every generation mom kind of thing. And she ends up giving them to Dana's little brother. And at the end of the episode, Beverly's trying to make things right and get Adam's toys back. And she's on the front lawn, like scooping up the flag, and pieces are popping off of it. And just, it's horrific as a toy collector, but absolutely hilarious for like a sitcom thing. It's a 7.5-foot long aircraft carrier deck she's trying to pick up in one fell swoop while there's like a box of Masters of the Universe figures on the ground, things like that. It's fantastic. We'll start by checking out lot 3 here. This is Adam Goldberg's stuffed animals. The current bid is $400. They're looking for $450. There's 14 days left. Granted, by the time I get this episode out, a few more of these days will get chewed up here. There's some photos here and a little bit of an explanation that goes through the series. I'm not going to go through every single one of the descriptions, but you can see they have a clown here similar to Poltergeist. There's My Buddy, some Fraggles, Garfield. They got a Teddy Ruxpin. There's a plush E.T., Alf. And it looks like a ceramic Yoda. Just pretty classic 80s toys here. I don't know if there's any real significance to any one of these in particular for an episode, but just kind of fun. It looks like the head on the clown has come off, and that might be part of the episode. Some of these things they list like, the condition is poor based on the age or the production use, right? All right, let's get into lot number 10. This is Adam's G.I. Joes. Now, when I first saw about this auction, the first thing I wanted to do was see if the flag from the show was up for sale. It's not. I don't know if the showrunner, Adam F. Goldberg, is keeping it. As a child, he said he didn't have it, or many G.I. Joes. In fact, his next-door neighbor, who is a character in the show, had all the G.I. Joe stuff, and so he didn't really worry about collecting G.I. Joes because he just played with it at his friend's house all the time. It was a very neighborhood, classic 80s shifting from house to house kind of childhood. So he collected Transformers and his buddy collected G.I. Joes. But in the show, he has a little bit of everything. So let's check out this lot here. Adam Goldberg's G.I. Joes. This lot contains one bin of various G.I. Joe action figures and G.I. Joe toy base, various vehicles, including 2 Rattlers and part of an All-Striker. All right. They varies in condition, signs of wear from age and use. Standard kind of disclaimer. So this is the big group shot. Here we've got G.I. Joe headquarters. You can see it's got the Slaughter's Marauders links and the All-Striker in there. It's not complete at all, but they probably just went out and bought some stuff at a flea market or from a local comic book shop, just to have things on the show. It's usually in the background and not really highlighted. So they ended up with 2 Rattlers in various states of condition. There's a night landing raft. You've got that All-Striker. You've got a Skyhawk missing its skis. Funny that there's 3 pulverizers there, all with clearance stickers on them. The pulverizer that's out of the box is missing some stuff. There's a fire bat from the Terrordrome. The Terrordrome was featured in an episode when Adam is working on a plot to like talk to a girl at a dance or to dance with a girl or something like that. He sets up a bunch of action figures inside the Terrordrome to show off the layout of the dance floor in the cafeteria to school or whatever like that. I didn't see that up for sale, the Terrordrome, but the fire bat is here. So again, not a great lot necessarily. Like things are incomplete. Then we get on to the figures. There's actually a couple decent figures here. He's got Hardtop. It looks like the microphone might be there. So that's kind of cool. You got Avac, the pilot to the Firebat. And the rest of these guys, there's nothing really that special. Blizzard, Sneak Peek, USA Sergeant Slaughter, the Fridge, Triple T Sergeant Slaughter, Spearhead, 2 Hardballs. You've got a 90s Roadblock, Thrasher, Crocmaster, Sci-Fi, Slaughter Marauder, Barbecue with Incinerator's gun, and Destro. And then there's some parts here, and I'm impressed that there's some Defiant fins. Was the Defiant in the show at some point? They got the figure and these fins, but nothing else really. There's some bombs and things to the Rattler, and a piece to the CoverGirl's Wolverine tank. And then they've got a Jover's Cobra Ace. I don't really get that. And they've got card backs here for Cobra Commander and Gung Ho. So I guess there's a buyer for the show, and they just kind of collect this stuff and use things as set dressing as needed. They probably didn't need the boxes or the packaging and stuff, but it probably just came with the toys. There's the box to the headquarters. I mean, if they did an episode set in a store or set at Christmas, they might need the packaging, but they also might just mock it up because this wouldn't look like a brand new toy. Anyway, cool lot. It's at $350 right now with 11 bids. They're asking $400. It'll probably jump when it gets close. I didn't sit down and look through pricing for eBay, but there's nothing like that amazing to say, like, this came from the Goldberg show. That's just where the flag is a little bit more prominent because it was featured in an episode quite a bit and quite a few episodes. But maybe this stuff is seen more obviously, and you can get a screenshot to kind of match it up with if you're a diehard Goldbergs fan. All right, here we have Adam's Star Wars toys. Now, it's surprising it's not like a Darth Vader case. That's the thing I would buy if I were a set dresser. It's the thing that every kid had in the 80s. But here we've got a bunch of the Star Wars play sets. Let's see what it says here in the description. This lot contains a white Millennium Falcon toy, a gray AT-AT, Star Wars branded action figures, 2 Star Wars branded playsets, and various Star Wars vehicles. Items vary in quality, and boxes show signs of wear and use. This lot is currently at $900, and they're hoping to get $1,000 for it. There you have the Dagobah playset. The box of that doesn't look too bad. That's a pretty typical Dagobah, though, with like no foam and maybe just a couple little accessories to it there. There's the Millennium Falcon. Hard to tell how complete it is, but it looks like it's got landing gear. It's got the plate here. There's a satellite dish. I don't see the gun. Here we have the AT-AT and the AT-ST. I don't think that AT-ST is a vintage one. In fact, I know it's not a vintage AT-ST. But, that AT-AT looks... It's incomplete, but it looks fine for a TV show. That's the way most kids in the 80s toys were. We lost parts and pieces playing with them in the backyard, and unless he's opening it in the episode and it's supposed to be brand new, it's fine that it's missing pieces for production. There's a snow speeder. That's kind of a wreck. It's missing the guns. It does have the canopy at least. And the Jabba the Hutt dungeon, missing all the rare action figures. Yeah, that's kind of exciting. And, of course, the Chewbacca bandolier strap. There's the Cloud Car and possibly another snowspeeder, or the one that was in another picture. There's a Hammerhead figure. It looks like a Lego Han Solo. So I don't really see a lot of figures here. There's the inside of the Millennium Falcon. Holy cow, it's got the Jedi training ball. That's kind of interesting. No gun here. The gun's a lot more common than that Jedi training ball. Looks like it might be missing one of the struts to the landing ramp. That's a cool lot. Here we go with some GoBots. This is lot number 42. GoBots toys. This lot contains one assorted box of vintage Tonka toy GoBots and one empty GoBots box. So we got a blister card in the back here and a big old pile of figures. I can see Leader 1 up here in the front. I don't know. These guys are pretty rough shape. But it's a pretty decent pile of GoBots. Again, to just kind of have these guys on a shelf or on the floor like he's been playing with them, they work fine. This is not really a great lot, I don't think, if you're a GoBots collector. They're looking for $250. They've already got $225. It'll be interesting to see how this finishes up. It doesn't have like the command center, which is a very common GoBots item to find, or Zod, that blue bad guy thing. So there's just a bunch of beat up GoBots here. Next up, we've got a set of 3 phones. These are classics from the 80s. They're asking $500 for this lot. It's currently at $450. The Garfield phone is a classic. When you lift up his back is actually where the earpiece is. His eyes open. You have the clear phone. My best friend growing up, their family had one of these clear phones. And, of course, the burger phone. famous in its own right, but of course also featured in the movie Juno. This lot contains one Garfield phone with a crack between the cat's ears. Oh, I see that. One hamburger phone and one clear phone. It says Adam's Garfield phone and Erica's clear phone in the family's home in multiple seasons of the series. At the beginning of season 3, Adam uses the hamburger phone to keep his long distance relationship with Dana alive. All right, so these are some pretty cool things. Not toys, but very nostalgic 80s kind of things. I would have placed the clear phone maybe in the 90s, but it probably did come out in 88 or 89 or something like that. We've got another lot of G.I. Joes here. Hard to say, because some of this stuff seems like a repeat, but maybe not. This lot is going for $225 currently, and they're looking for $250. This lot contains G.I. Joe brand walkie-talkies, various G.I. Joe toy vehicles, including the Lynx, the Water Moccasin, Rattler, and various G.I. Joe action figure items in varying condition. It says, please note the USA Sergeant Slaughter figure has been removed from this lot. There was a Sergeant Slaughter in the other lot. Maybe it got misphotographed or something like that. So this picture has the Swamp Fire, a possible other Rattler, Water Moccasin, Cobra Wolf, another Firebat, and another Lynx, maybe? Joe's, we got a carded Lady J on a pretty beat up card, but that's kind of cool. Airtight, Cobra Commander. Is this a modern Snake Eyes, maybe? Another Airvac with his parachute. That seems unusual that they're in both lots. Tiger Force Duke, Wild Weasel, Fast Draw, Payload from the Defiant. So Payload's in this lot. Hard Top's in the other one. He's even got his bubble helmet. Countdown. Slipstream, Frostbite. There's a broken USA Sergeant Slaughter. Triple T Sergeant Slaughter. Naugahyde. Another Fridge. Another USA Sergeant Slaughter. We've got Cobra Commander from the 90s and a Destro missing his rubber band, the Gold Head Iron Grenadier one. So again, very interesting stuff going on here. Here's some vehicles. We got a bridge layer missing some parts. We've got the bottom to a Vamp or a Stinger Jeep, a Howl Laser. Lots of different bits and pieces and accessories, you know, like the file card cover that goes to the base that was in the other lot. Random junk. Here's some of the chairs from the Terrordrome. And then these cool G.I. Joe walkie-talkies. So some fun stuff there. Again, it'll be interesting to see what this goes for and you know, actually what's all in everything. It looks like this might be, there's some orange pieces there that might be canopies to the Defiant playset. I'm very interested in trying to figure out if there was a Defiant in the show at some point. Lot 54, Adam Goldbergs toy lightsabers. These are the Force lightsabers from the 70s and 80s. They're like a hollow tube, and when you swing around, it makes sort of like a swishing noise. It's two Vader ones and a Jedi Luke from Return of the Jedi there. They're just plastic tubes, basically, with a hole at both ends. There's a little bit of like a vent at the top of the blade and then an open hole at the bottom. I think it does say something in the description here about them. They include the Force lightsaber decal. And the one says it has chipped paint, which makes me think they must have gotten 3 red ones and then painted the one, because they're not painted. They're plastic tubes. So maybe somehow whoever was getting their props for them got them 3 red ones and they needed a good guy one. I'm not sure. But again, this is one of those weird things you get when you have a, you know, screen used production type of item. Here we've got Adam's wrestling toys. Wrestling obviously was huge in the 80s. Hulk Hogan just was on top of the world. And Adam's brother Barry was really big into wrestling in the show. Also karate. So here we can see some wrestling buddies, a ring, and a rock and roll wrestling coloring book, it looks like. Switch the picture there. We got $1 Million Man, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and Macho Man Randy Savage. These wrestling buddies were stuffed animals that you could pretend to be wrestling and, you know, slam them on the floor and not get hurt with them. It was a fun concept. They did do a few other figures or other characters in this style, but the wrestling buddies were kind of the main thing. It looks like they're trying to get $400 for this lot. They're trying to get $450. It's currently at $400. So it is interesting to see none of these lots have quite hit the mark yet, but there is time. There's the big coloring book, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, which was a cartoon show featuring the wrestlers. And here's a wrestling rink. This was definitely used in an episode of the show. They don't really have the figures that go with this. This is for like the LJN rubber wrestlers, I think, or maybe this is the later Hasbro guys. It's got like the cage match stuff that goes on it there. It doesn't match with those wrestling buddy figures. All right, at lot 60 here, Adam Goldberg's He-Man toys. This is just a pile of action figures. This lot contains 6 bins of assorted He-Man. What size bins are these? 6 bins of He-Man toys and 2 bags of sorted He-Man brand toys, including the characters He-Man, Skeletor, Man-at-Arms, and Beastman. Items in condition and quality show signs of wear from age and use. Not a ton of information there. I can see Ashira. I can see Orko and Grizzlor and Prince Adam. There looks like a knockoff He-Man, or maybe something they painted up to look like He-Man at the top of the pile near a Skeletor. That's not an official He-Man. There's a cat scratch, or no, there's a regular Catra there. Fisto without his armor. Let's scroll through the pictures here. They just kind of take pictures of the same pile from a couple angles. It really is not super helpful. I mean, I can see Leech now. I can see tongue, well, maybe a tongue lasher. Whiplash, Merman, Hordak. Sort of, this is definitely the way you find Masters of the Universe figures at a yard sale. This looks like somebody bought 2 or 3 lots off eBay and just said, yep, we're covered. We've got enough stuff. There's a tape measure shot. They really didn't spread them out and show them off at all. So this lot is currently at $350. They're looking for $400 on that. If I had a chance to make a show about my childhood, it would have to be similar to the Goldbergs that incorporated toys into it. They were so important to me. That's one of the things I like about the Goldberg show. All the 80s references are a ton of fun. But I will be honest, my personal experience with the Goldbergs sort of ended around the time that George Siegel, the guy who played Pops, passed away. I used to watch Goldbergs on DVR, and then around that time-ish, I don't have the timeline exactly perfect in front of me, but like I met my fiance, started dating her. She did not have like standard TV. Everything she does is streaming. So we probably could have watched on Hulu or something like that, but I sort of got out of the habit of watching the show. I wasn't at home to watch my DVR. Eventually I canceled my cable because I just wasn't home enough. And so I really haven't seen the last few seasons of the Goldbergs. I know Murray eventually left. There's some politics and bad blood and whatever going on there. But I always enjoyed the dad on the Goldbergs. But of course, Adam is getting older and older. It was getting more and more of a stretch to think of him as a naive, young, nerdy kid. So I think it was smart that they're wrapping it up at this point. But here we're checking out his Thundercats toys. Lot 69. Nice. Thundercats. This lot contains bins of assorted Thundercats brand toys, including Lion-O and Mumra figures, 4 assorted Thundercat toy vehicles, and assorted Thundercat set pieces, including Cat's Lair playset. I can see that the Cat's Lair is not the large-scale Cat's Lair, but actually the one for the miniature figures, the like 2-inch PVC style guys. It's still cool. There are some vehicles here. This is the Nosedive, and I forget what these other 2 vehicles are called. The Cat's Paw, maybe, or something like that. These are in pretty rough shape, these vehicles, for sure. Here's the pile of figures. Again, looks like a bin, maybe 2 kids' childhood collections bought off eBay. You can see there's lots of repeats. I can see a couple Tigras. I can see a couple Mumras, perhaps some Monkeyians. Very few accessories in there, but I can see a Sword of Omens and maybe a few other things. Hey, Chitara's staff's in there. I see a Pack-In Snarf, Snowman of Hook Mountain. A couple of the Berserker guys are in there. Nobody super rare that I noticed in there is currently at $350. They're asking $400. That's probably not a bad lot. All right, here we are on the Transformers that belong to Adam. This is lot 75. We've skipped over lots of costumes and some scripts and little things from the show that just aren't really the vein of Pegwarmers here. This lot contains a sort of Transformers brand toys from Grimlock, Scrapper, and Whirl, and various empty Transformers brand toy boxes. Yeah, so a bunch of Transformers packaging, which, it probably just came with some of the stuff that they bought. Maybe they needed packaging for an episode here or there. Lots of pamphlets and things. Almost interesting that they hung on to that stuff. I guess the prop master just didn't want to get rid of anything in case they might need it. But you can see they've got multiples of the Twin Twist Top Whirl, whatever his name is. Not very interesting. That Grimlock doesn't look like G1. Nobody really super recognizable. That's the interesting thing there. You've got, is that Ratchet in there? And it looks like some Insecticons and things like that, but Gears is in there, but no Prime, no Megatron, Shockwave, Bumblebee, like the really iconic ones. Those are the ones you'd think they'd want, but if it wasn't super integral to the plot that it was that specific Transformer, they probably just needed some Transformers. And it's also possible that some props either went missing or were kept by somebody. Like I said, the flag isn't here being sold, so you never really know. We switch angles here. It doesn't show off a whole lot more information. Lot number 82, Adam Goldberg's Pee-wee's Playhouse Cherry and Doll. Now, this Cherry was in the basement, and I do remember seeing it in some episodes. I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that Cherry, though. Was this a kid-sized toy at the time, like a piece of kids' furniture? I remember there being a Cherry that went with the pull string doll, and it had like a hand puppet mouth. But this has a solid mouth that's just sort of like printed on the seat. It looks like someone could actually, like, a small child could sit on that. But I don't remember that being for sale. And then this figure over here, I believe, is listed as a ventriloquist dummy or ventriloquist doll. But it also kind of just looks like the pull string Pee-wee. It's hard to tell if there's like slits on the side of the mouth or not. Yeah, it does kind of look like a ventriloquist dummy in this photo here. It's currently at $350. They're trying to get $400 for this lot as a minimum. Yeah, I don't know if this is the ventriloquist dummy here or the pull string toy, but there was lots of fun Pee-wee's Playhouse toys back in the day. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, the last lot that I have that I want to show you is Adam's TMNT lot. This is actually probably one of the more interesting lots as far as it having a lot of pieces to it. I love the G.I. Joe stuff, and there's some rare figures in there with the Defiant crew and stuff like that. But this Ninja Turtle lot seems like a nice representation of the brand, as well as some, lots of accessories and things that us action figure collectors love to find when you buy stuff at an auction. Not that you're probably buying the Goldberg props to try and flip them as a complete figure. I don't know how to really authenticate these to if somebody were to buy them and try to sell them as props from the show. Do you get a certificate of authenticity just for the whole lot? Do you get some sort of individual thing? Do you pay money to get individual things? Do you issue your own? I don't really know how certificates of authenticity work per se, like officially. I know auction houses do offer them. I know QVC offers them for like autographed things, but I just don't know how that would work if you were like a toy dealer and you decided to buy this lot. Or are you gonna just make a shadow box out of this stuff because you're such a huge Goldbergs fan? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, what would you do if you bought some of this so you got one of these lots? All right, lot number 93, Adams Goldberg Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is exactly what I was saying about how some of the other lots looked like they bought multiple collections, on eBay or from a yard sale or whatever, because they were repeat characters. There's 3 Ninja Turtle collector cases. Not that many doubles, a few doubles. I see 3 Rocksteadies already, so it probably was 3 kids' collections combined together here to make this lot. Let's check the description real quick. It's at $225. They're asking $250. It's interesting, at 14 days out, pretty much all of these things are $25 to $50 short of the goal. This lot contains 3 collector cases, various TMNT figures, Turtle characters, Shredder, Casey, April, Bebop, Rocksteady, 1 Ninja Turtle toy van, and 1 Ninja Turtle sewer set. Not the original sewer set, though. This was one of those, like, misnomer kind of things. They probably needed a sewer set for an episode, and either the person didn't know what to buy or it wasn't in the budget. This is like the top of a modern Ninja Turtle playset. But there you got Casey, April, Splinter, Mikey, Donatello, Raphael, and the Party Wagon. The Party Wagon's broken. It's missing like the side door here. No Leo, interesting in this collection, or at least not in this photo. Here's some other figures they've got. I see 3 Bebops, 3 Rocksteadies, 2 Rat Kings, a Shredder, a Foot Soldier, Baxter Stockman, a Metalhead, 2 Leatherheads, Krang, Rock Trooper, General Trag, I think his name is. Yeah, nice little mix there. And then the last shot here is a really nice collection of weapons. There's weapons here to figures that they don't even have. And that happens sometimes. Kids would lose figures but still have an accessory. Mondo Gecko's skateboard is in there. Oh yeah, Genghis Frog's the little fly guy is in there, I guess. Sewer Samurai, Leo's accessories. Lots of fun stuff. So, at least that's like a lot you could sort of maybe complete. Not that you necessarily would try to complete it. I don't know. It's sort of a weird thing. But anyway, the Goldbergs is ending. I wish the cast and crew and everybody that worked on that show the best of luck. I love these kind of shows that kind of incorporate nerd culture. I know it's never perfect. If you watch these things, like that 70s show had some nerd culture stuff going on in it, which I always enjoyed, but the products were always all wrong. They never really had the 80s toys in it. It was always the 90s, the modern Star Wars stuff. And that's good enough for the general audience. I do know that my buddy Chris, who was on the Muppets episode with me, he actually helped get the Fraggle and Muppet toys in the show corrected. They were using modern stuff, and they did switch them out for one of the seasons. He mentioned that in the Muppets episode of Pegwarmers. So anyway, I had fun looking through all this stuff with you guys. This is not a very typical episode, but, something different and something relevant to talk about. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Maybe consider sharing it with a toy collecting friend or a Goldbergs fan in your family. And thanks for hanging on the peg with me.